The reason you see a brick wall behind me is kind of coming from a little brainstorming I had yesterday. My name is Bastien Nocera. I work for Red Hat in the desktop team, and in the past couple of months I've been working on Bluetooth. I'm also one of the organizers for this year's GWADEC, which explains why I really ran out of time trying to write a presentation. Speaking to a few people, I was told that it was actually a good idea not to have any slides, and that people actually kept more focused. It distracts less. So with Richard Hughes yesterday, we started thinking that it might be a good idea to come up with a comedy club kind of feel to it. So it's a very nice background. I'd like to thank the internet for giving me a nice brick backdrop. I'm just going to play a little sound for the occasion, although I think is fitting. That is the Seinfeld tune, if you guys don't know it. I'm not gonna be telling jokes about rabbis from New York either. I'm just gonna be talking about Bluetooth. I'm gonna be explaining to you what used to exist in GNOME land as far as Bluetooth was concerned. I'm gonna explain to you the attempts that were made to make it better in the past couple of years, and I'm gonna be talking about the new world order, what we're actually working on and what we're putting our efforts into to get something good coming out of it. So I'm going to start with Ed Dunbill's work. Ed is a long-time GNOME contributor, although he seems to have completely dropped off the planet since he started organizing XML conferences. I'm not really sure, what he does for a living. But yeah, he just pumped off a couple of years ago a couple of modules that were relating to GNOME and Bluetooth, and stopped answering emails about the code he wrote. So a couple of years ago, we're talking probably 2001, 2002, Ed started working on two different libraries. One is the mouthful libbtctl, libbtctl, if you will, which is a glib style library that's supposed to hide all the intricacies of Bluetooth behind a nice API. The problem is that the API might be somewhat nice, but the code is pretty dreadful. It provides a couple of things: discovery of devices, and a couple of backends to do an OBEX client and an OBEX server, which is what the code in GNOME Bluetooth, which is the other module, provides. GNOME Bluetooth also provides a little dialog to be able to search for devices. The problem is that because OpenOBEX, which we rely on for OBEX transfer, is not very nice API, to be fair, and because the code that's been written in libbtctl is ancient by today's standards, the code is not very maintainable. So what we are trying to do is get rid of them, because I don't want to have to maintain modules that somebody else could do a better job at. If anybody is interested in maintaining them after I drop them, please send me an email or just commit some code and it'll be yours. There are two applications that we have in GNOME Bluetooth. One is an OBEX server, which means that it's something that runs on your laptop for you to be able to receive files. The UI is not exactly the easiest to use either. It completely breaks all the all what's expected of GNOME applications. So there is a bug that's about 3 years old which says, please do not show an icon all the time in the tray bar. That's something that we hope to fix very soon by actually doing some integration work. The other application that we've got is GNOME OBEX Send, which seems to be a dialog that nobody ever sees. For most of you, it will just be a progress bar. That is the functionality you get when you right-click in Nautilus and click Send to, and then select Bluetooth. Nautilus Send to used to use libbtctl, but has been changed to use an API, which I'm going to talk about in a second. From those two modules, underneath those two modules, we've got Blues, which is probably one of the best and easiest Bluetooth stack to use under any OS. For comparison, macOS 10 has a very, very similar API, but it's got all the GUI bits that go with it to make it usable and make it user-friendly. We do, on Linux, we do much better than Windows. Windows has got one stack per vendor. There are about 4 or 5 different Bluetooth stacks. If you want to write an application, depending on the hardware that you've got, you will need to write it 4 or 5 times to be able to support all the different models of cards. It completely defies the point of having a common stack, doing less work. So Blues is the umbrella project for the low-level utilities for Bluetooth on Linux. There are a couple of libraries, BluesyLibs. We've got a couple of utilities, the Blues utils, where you get tools like HCI tool, SDP tool. If you've actually played with Bluetooth in Linux, there are very good chances that you had those tools mentioned in some sort of how-to. The other more recent addition to Blues is Bluesy GNOME. Bluesy GNOME is not a GNOME project, it's actually a GTK project, and it relies on a particular API from Blues utils. A couple of years ago, HCID, which is the name of the daemon that takes care of everything Bluetooth on your system, the one that starts on boot up on most laptops, didn't have any sort of external API. You had to handcraft everything that was discovery, etc., using the Bluesy libraries, and hopefully make HCID use the same data from somewhere. To give you an idea, GNOME Bluetooth has got its very own data store in gconf to store all the data that you could get from discoveries and pairings and devices names. So HCID got a dbus interface. It got a dbus interface with a very simple goal: make it easy for developers to use Bluetooth. The second goal was you should not need to link to any Bluesy libraries to be able to write a Bluetooth application. The main users of that very special case, of that use case, are vendors like Nocera and Garmin and all those people writing proprietary applications that use Bluetooth. BluesyLibs is under the GPL, making it impossible to link with proprietary programs. So we started getting a dbus API that enabled you to do discovery, to do caching in the backends, and then bolted onto that system of that simple dbus API, you had another API for spawning services. A service would be a particular service that you want to provide using Bluetooth. For example, there used to be a daemon called HIDD, excuse me, yeah, HIDD, which is the daemon to handle human interface devices, such as your Bluetooth mouse, Bluetooth keyboard. It was a different daemon. It got folded into the HCID daemon, which means that applications from the desktop or even custom-made applications or command line tools can spawn off that service and just ask it to create an input device with a specific Bluetooth device. There are some other services that are provided and which will be provided in the near future by HCID. I'm gonna go back to them in a second. I'm gonna go back to BlueZ GNOME. BlueZ GNOME, if you've got a recent distribution somewhere on your laptop, on your desktop, you've probably seen the little Bluetooth icon in your tray bar when you plug in a Bluetooth dongle. This is BlueZ GNOME. One of the main problems with BlueZ GNOME is that it's got a maintainer, Marcel Holtman, who's very clever. Well, despite being very clever and knowing Bluetooth inside out, knowing the kernel inside out, doesn't really write UIs. And with it being part of the BlueZ project, doesn't really fit in with the rest of the GNOME project. So we've got very few translations, for example. We've got very few committers. We've got very few people providing patches. BlueZ GNOME right now only enables you to do very basic things. It's that applet. It's the preferences that come with it. A set of functionality that we're working on for BlueZ GNOME is widgets, so that every application would be able to use properly made, already coded, very simple to use widgets to do discovery. If you've ever used macOS 10 and you've seen the Bluetooth chooser, you will have seen that it's the same in every single application because it's easy to code. You've got a couple of lines to just create the widget. You've got a couple of lines to set properties and say which type of device you want to scan for. If you want to give the user some choices as to what will be showing in the list, and everything's magical, and you don't need to do any extra work. You just create that widget, set properties, and it just works. Another thing that we're going to be working on, and that's obviously very needed for end users in BlueZ GNOME, is a wizard. The bottom line is that the wizard is going to look like something that you've seen on another operating system, and once again, it's macOS 10. macOS 10 does have a very good Bluetooth support. It's got a very good Bluetooth support, as in it has very well integrated services into the core system. It's not a bolt-on like you would get on Windows with different preferences for different stacks. It's got only one widget set, one type of dialogue, and one proper interface that everybody can use. A couple of things that we've also been working on as part of different projects and trying to enhance BlueZ GNOME is moving all that code that we've seen in GNOME Bluetooth. So GNOME Bluetooth provided widgets. We're going to provide widgets in BlueZ GNOME. GNOME Bluetooth provides those two applications to send and receive files using Bluetooth from a mobile phone or a printer. And we're going to try and move all that into BlueZ GNOME so they can use the widget set and the dbus API provided by the BlueZ stack. And that all depends on one extra service, which I was mentioning earlier. And we've got a Google Summer of Code student that's working on that very project. And his name is Tadas Dailida, which is why I wrote it down. Lithuanian guy. He seems to be doing a very good job at providing the OpenOBEX services, so file transfers can be handled using just a dbus API, and we can bolt on a nice UI wherever we need to. So, for example, we could finally integrate directly in Nautilus Send to the Bluetooth sending instead of relying on a completely different program, which means that we get better integration, which means that we get better error reporting, which means that all the bugs will be centralized in one place as opposed to being spread all around. I should mention, while I'm on the subject of the Summer of Codes, the attempt last year by Matthew Garrett. Is Matthew here? I'm not sure he is. No? Matthew Garrett worked on, it was actually my idea to start with that project last year. What we wanted was a Bluetooth manager to be able to integrate directly into the GNOME desktop. It was there for a variety of reasons. One of them being that BlueZ GNOME was not really mature. The BlueZ dbus interface was not really mature either. And we started trying to think about new ways that we could ease the pain for developers actually writing the code. So Matthew, in all his wisdom, started working on a HAL backend to be able to bolt on all the Bluetooth devices discovered, known, and in the vicinity into the HAL tree. If you just launch the HAL device manager or GNOME device manager nowadays, and you see that nice tree with all your devices, and when you plug in USB, you can see that just under the USB port, you've got your USB device. Well, we wanted to do the same thing. You add your Bluetooth adapter, and just underneath you add the Bluetooth device, which was completely remote. The problem is that there were a couple of reasons why this was a no-no. First of all, the API wasn't fine-grained enough. We had a couple of methods on those Bluetooth adapters to be able to say, well, start discovering devices for me. But he had no way of saying, just find all the printers that you can. And the thing is that with Bluetooth, trying to find the name of a device, trying to find the services provided by a device is very expensive. So yeah, you've probably seen this when you've been trying to send your friend a picture using your mobile phone. It will take 30 seconds, a minute for the other device to show up in the list if it's not already there, if it's not already known. So every time that we were scanning for new devices using HAL, what we were doing is that we were getting all the devices' names. Well, first of all, a list of all the devices in the vicinity, all the devices' names, all the devices' services. It took a long time. It could take minutes. Whereas if we knew that we only wanted to search for printers, we can cut down on the amount of traffic done by the Bluetooth adapter and the Bluetooth devices, which means that we get much more control over it. The other reason why this didn't get accepted is obviously the dbus API changed and got more mature and got easier to use. And it made absolutely no sense to have an application using dbus, talking to HAL, talking to HCID, talking to the actual kernel bits and libraries, when you could have directly a more fine-grained, just as easy to use API, which removed HAL completely, which just removed the layer. Another thing another reason why this didn't get accepted was persistent device storage. Basically, we need to be able to store the known devices' names across reboots. We need to know which files, which devices were known to the computer, were paired with the computer, so that we didn't have to rescan every single time when you boot it up. So you can imagine that it wouldn't have gone too well with people if you need to wait for HAL to come up and then look for all your devices, for example, say your mouse and your keyboard, to actually show up in the discovery to be able to use it. So just imagine booting up your computer and having to wait a couple of minutes after X has started to be able to use your mouse and keyboard. And it's not really user-friendly, and without the persistent device storage, we wouldn't have been able to do that. And the HAL maintainers, Dave Zoythan, wasn't really interested in having that, because it basically breaks everything that HAL should be, which is just a list of dynamically created devices. It should be pretty much instantaneous and easy, which Bluetooth isn't. So if we've got applications using the dbus API of HCID directly and talking Bluetooth using that library, they already special case the Bluetooth case, and they know what they need, which means that we get applications that are much more tightly integrated than you would have otherwise. Another service that recently got moved into HCID, which is being worked on by the MIMO people at Nocera, is the audio. So in a coming soon version of MIMO for your N800, you should be able to use Skype and the Gizmo project and the telepathy conferencing tool on there using a Bluetooth headset, or eventually using your Nokia 800 to listen to music without wires. That's something that's being worked on for MIMO, but all the work is being done upstream in Blues, which means that as a consequence of that, we're going to get that for free for us in the desktop and on laptops. So very soon we should be able to listen to music using Rhythmbox or Totem, using a Bluetooth headset, and we're going to be able to make simple phone calls using Ekiga directly with a nice little Bluetooth headset, just like you would with a mobile phone. Okay. Then I'm going to talk a bit about what I've been working on in the past couple of months for Red Hat. I'm going to blog one or two URLs so that you've got a bit more information that the now gone brick wall to come home to. At the beginning of planning for Fedora 8, we started thinking about what we could do for Bluetooth. And we've got a whole page on the Fedora wiki full of use cases for Bluetooth devices. A number of them, I must admit, are pretty ludicrous, such as using your mobile phone as a remote control, which hopefully if GStreamer behaves, I'll be able I'll be able to show you in a minute. But there are a good number of use cases that are very, very useful. How many of you have tried multi-sync and OpenSync to synchronize your mobile phone's contacts to Evolution? Yeah, quite a few. How many of you have actually used a Mac in the end to do it using iSync? Yeah, I must say I actually did the exact same thing. I was lucky enough to be given a Mac by somebody who didn't know any better, and yeah, that's why I used to not lose all my contacts when I lose my mobile phone or forget it in the pub. It happens sometimes. So that's something that we're going to be working on, which brings us to another project that was part of that whole suite of project that Ed Dumbill worked on. It's the GNOME Phone Manager. GNOME Phone Manager has not got much love in the past couple of years, and I've started reworking on it about a week and a half ago. The last thing that was done to GNOME Phone Manager before was switching to from a libgsm backend, which is a very generic library for talking to mobile phones using AT commands, to the more versatile Gnocchi. Gnocchi originated as just a tool for Nokia mobile phones and got extended to support more phones. The only problem is that nobody seemed really that interested in working on the more generic drivers. And when we switched to the Gnocchi backend in GNOME Phone Manager, we ended up having a lot of disgruntled users of pretty much any mobile phone but Nokia's, telling us, well, it doesn't do what it should do. So what it's supposed to do is SMS notifications. You receive a text on your mobile and it pops up on your desktop and you can reply to it. It's got some Evolution data server integration. I'm looking at ROS because we're actually missing some bits in Evolution data server to be able to integrate it better. Right now, for example, it's impossible to guess the sender of a text using just the mobile phone, because the formats might differ a tiny bit to what's stored as a string in Evolution. Another functionality, coming back to the SMS, sorry. So what I ended up doing in the past week was actually working on Gnocchi, and I fix SMS notification for most people. So most people should be happy. We also worked on a couple more functionalities, because once you've got something going and you've got a nice framework and you see, ooh, Gnocchi can do that. Well, why couldn't I provide that very same feature to people? One feature that's going to show up in the UI very soon, the backend's written, but the UI isn't quite yet, is call notification. One good thing is that GNOME Phone Manager is a GNOME application, and we're not afraid of linking against a gazillion libraries to get you proper integration everywhere. And we're going to be linking against dbus so that you're able to pause your media player whenever you start the call. We're going to be also be able to show somebody's face when they call you, so that you can see if it's someone that you don't like or someone for whom you don't have a face. A couple of other things that we've been working on. Again, more integration. That one nearly borders on uselessness, but it's still a fancy functionality. GNOME Power Manager is going to be able to tell you, thanks to Richard, he's going to be able to tell you if your phone is running low on battery, which might happen if you've got a battery of a well-known American mobile phone maker that starts with Moto. if you use Bluetooth for more than a couple of hours, you're going to end up with a completely drained battery. So it all would be nice that GNOME Power Manager will be able to warn you about it and tell you that your phone is running low on battery, and then we'll be able to completely disconnect from it. Then we started thinking about, because we already provide that dbus API for GNOME Power Manager to use, we thought, well, we could really extend that dbus API. We could be able to provide some of the services because GNOCky's got all that functionality that we're not using. And one of the things that we could use is, we're already talking to the mobile phone. How about getting the address book, getting the calendar items, getting all the notes on your mobile phone? And that's how we're going to implement synchronization. Basically, I'm not going to do synchronization code. I'm just going to write a simple get set API, and then I'm going to let the people from the new Conduit project actually do the hard work. They work on synchronization. I provide them data. They munge it. They deal with the conflicts. They deal with things that change both on the mobile phones and the computer, and try to make sense of it all. They're going to be able to provide you with syncing your Google Calendar with your mobile phone. I'm not interested in working on all kinds of backends and trying to create an awful lot of code just to be able to do very simple things, when there is a project that's there, that exists, and that seems to be gaining a lot of momentum in the community. So Conduit is going to be hopefully our savior for the syncing problem. It's actually probably the biggest use case in that whole list of Bluetooth use cases that we got on Fedora. I think that that's pretty much it. A couple of other things that I worked on very quickly, or that I at least try to push. We've got a network manager, and using your mobile phone to provide you with internet access is being worked on. So you're going to be able to use 3G and GPRS from your mobile phone to get you a bit of connectivity when Wi-Fi is not in sight. Another thing that we've been trying to work on, well, that we've actually worked on, if you use cups and use the cups backends to do setups, of printers, you're now able to discover Bluetooth printers that are everywhere, just around the rooms, and being able to print directly to them. So one of the test cases for that was plugging in a Bluetooth printer nearby, making it completely open so that anybody could send pictures and text to it, and in the minimum amount of clicks, being able to set up the printer on your computer and being able to send a file to it. We run in, I think, less than 10 clicks to be able to set up the printer and send the file, which is much better than we were able to do. If you've registered and you were lucky enough to get one of the Linux magazines from this year, if you've got a blue one, it's actually from December 2006. I really wanted that one. I actually ended up with the blue magazine in my bag. I swapped it with someone at Force as well, and I pointed very sharply at the cover, which says Bluetooth hacks. There aren't actually any Bluetooth hacks, and you've got a 2-page guide on setting up a printer. A 2-page guide which involves using KDE and logging into the web interface of CUPS to be able to set up your printer. Oh, he also mentions using the command line to actually look for your printer. Now, with about 2 days worth of work, we're able to do it without going to the command line, without going to the CUPS web interface, and integrated nicely with all the system's configuration tool. Another thing that really struck me is that we need 5 pages to be able to set up simple GPRS. We've got about 5 pages to explain to you how to make your Bluetooth discoverable and just pair it with your phone. It's things that we have code for, and it's things that we should be able to make much easier. So I'm going to try and run a couple of demos. If it doesn't work, please bear with me. I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to blame it on someone at some point. And I really hope that you're going to like the things that I've got running for you. I'm going to start with that. I had a bit of problem trying to play the little Seinfeld theme, which is why I used my mobile phone to actually play it earlier. So I'm going to add a bunch of files. I've got some movies. Here we go. Movies. This is the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I absolutely love it. I think that it took me just a couple of days to watch all 4 seasons of it. I don't know if anybody's watched it, but at the end of the day, I knew the intro by heart. But I'm not going to sing, so no requests tonight. She looks pretty good. So if you read my blog in the past couple of days, you know that this is absolutely gruesome code. Obviously, it doesn't work. There's Murphy's laws that's mentioned by politically correct people. In the UK, we've got Sod's law, and well, we're gonna give it a try. So I'm using a box standard mobile phone. This one costs about £100 to buy rightly. And it's the kind of mobile phone that you don't need a contract for or anything. It's £100. So that means that if you get a contract, you can probably get it for about 40 or something like that. Or probably even for free if you agree to a 12 months contract. Now, I don't work for a mobile phone vendor, don't worry about it. So this is a very cheap mobile phone. On it is running an application that is a BMuse client. BMuse is fairly ancient, but it's just a box standard protocol which sends a bunch of letters back to the machine and spits back a bit of data, and it's implemented in Java, so that's why it's very crude and slow to start on your mobile phones. But I'm gonna try and play something. Oh, yeah, you can actually see everything moving. So I'm gonna go to a better video. That's one. No, I'm a bit of a dance fan, but that song is not of very good quality. But I still like the music video for some reason. Okay, so this is about it. We've got, we can also show all the playlists. I'm gonna go and play some better music, but worse images. So this is Gorillas, and then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna clear the playlist because it's time that we stop with it. We go and I'm gonna shut down Totem. See, that's what I meant about broken interfaces. I can't actually. There's a radio button to say shut down PC, yes or no. So I need to select the radio button, but there's absolutely no way to validate the entry. And because it's all written in Java, nobody's ever going to fix it. So this is one of the things that you can do, and that works pretty nicely. Yeah, I've got one tiny problem. I can't actually see the top right of my screen on the LCD. It's only there, so you can see a couple of icons up there. I've got a slight problem. I can't see it. So if you could like just direct me a bit and tell me to go right or left. Yeah, thanks. I'm at the top. Right. Left, left, left. I'm trying to go on the Bluetooth icon. Oh, here we go. Right. On the Bluetooth icon. I forgot to mention that was supposed to be one of my jokes in my superb comedy routine. I was gonna have to say at the beginning that everybody please turn on your mobile phone. So if you could do that now, and we're gonna have a little play. So this is very simple. It's very simple. It's one menu item. It's 3 lines of code. It's written in C, so yeah, it's 3 lines of code to add that menu. To actually do something with the menu, it's probably 30, 40 lines of code. To actually make it do something interesting more than, show a dialogue, well, you need an awful lot more. So, yet again, you can see that if you've used macOS 10, you probably know how to use this already. And we get a bunch of mobile phones, a good bunch of mobile phones. And we're gonna be able to browse some of them. Are we gonna wait until people with not much imagination can actually tell us whether it's their mobile phone or somebody else's? Nokia 5200. Who's got a Nokia 5200? You should change the name to at least, do something. Yeah, okay. So you can see there's a good bunch of devices, and I think that it will take a little while if we actually wait for everyone to every name to appear on there. Yeah, but there's about 15 devices there, and it takes a while to resolve the names. So you can see why now. That's a perfect example of why we should do discovery and use Bluetooth functions with great care when it comes to the amount of traffic we generate. Nice try. Try again later. Thank you. As I'm going to show you what's on my mobile phone. And here we go. Some of you might already know that. That's been worked on, first of all, by the MIMO people at Nokia, who wrote GNOME VFS module for OBEX FTP. And then it was made to work for our systems, for full GNOME systems by James Henstridge. and then I took a leaf from Marcel Holtman's. He advised me to rip out some code and make it leaner. And we've been able to make it much leaner, which means that it's actually much faster than it was before, it's more reliable than it was before, and it was about a day's work. So it's very good to be able to see that, and for people to be able to finally get some integration going. So I'm going to go to the images. It will have loads of pictures, hopefully. You have loads of pictures? Oh, it's completely empty. Somebody... that might be because I completely emptied the images before leaving, so that I would have some room. Though there should be a couple of files here. Are we going to try and thumbnail? I'm not sure. Let's try and watch what this is. The thing is that I don't know what it is either. I really hope it's nothing too embarrassing. He's not that quick. It's finished. Here we go. That's nice. That's just the front of my house. You can barely see. On the right-hand side is my front garden. On the left-hand side is the neighbors. The neighbors actually mowed his lawn. I didn't since last year. Right, we've got, that's just one of the things that you can do. It's all integrated and it works well. Now we're going to try something else. I'm going to need some help to find the little cell phone icon just to the right of the Bluetooth device. So it's really turning into app. Oh, yes. Preferences. Here we go. I'm going to set my phone. Please work. I can't actually. Here we go. It should work. See, you can't actually see anything in the icon. It's just a blob. That's why I'm getting some new icons. Hopefully at some point. I'm gonna have to move that. I'm gonna have to move that. Where's the tray bar? There we go. Right. Aha, I can see on the screen now. And it is actually connected, as you can see. I believe I've got a whole load of... no, I was supposed to have an awful lot of debug everywhere, but I don't. So GNOME Phone Manager allows me to so bear with me on that one. As I said, I've been working mostly on the back end and on fixing Gnocchi so that it works for most people and things like that. So I didn't have time to write the UI for all the functionality that I wanted. This is how you send a text message. So please forget that number. Unless you want to pay me beers. Do you want to pay me beers? No? Not yet? Thanks. So I just sent a little text message, which should appear way I've got a, you can't actually see it because it's so bright on there, but there is a tiny, tiny little envelope just next to you. Here you go. Can you see it? Can you see it? Yeah. That's why I need new icons. Thank you. And I've just received a text message, and that was my message. Yeah, there's a bug in the Nokia 6510 driver, which is why it's not actually the text that I sent. But it's my own fault for not really testing it that well. So, you get the gist of it. We're also gonna have in GNOME Power Manager call notifications, battery notifications, and all the code to do file syncing and everything. Any questions? Plenty of questions. Maybe you want to start at the top? Yeah, that's you. Yeah.
Actually, I have a few questions. You mentioned that Bluesy was licensed under the GPL, the library.
Mm-hmm.
Are the widgets that you're working on, the Bluesy GNOME widgets, are those also GPL, or are they?
I really hope that Marcel's going to agree. Marcel Holtman, the Bluesy maintainer, mentioning his name again. I really hope that he's going to agree to have those widgets LGPL, because it's actually a very small amount of code, because we have a good API behind it, and it pretty much fits with the idea that you had with the dbus API, which is making it easy for people not to use the libraries. So I really hope that the widgets are going to be LGPL, so that GNOME applications can use them.
I'll let someone else go if you don't.
Yeah. Anyone else? Richard? He's going to say delivered because there's a bug. Yeah. Well, if it says delivered, see. He doesn't actually ever received the message. Well, I'm going to read it anyway, because I saw the first one you sent. Right. Dude, your presentation is really dull. Any chance we can finish early and get some beers in? No, don't worry, I'm going to finish soon. Beers on you. Next person. Yeah, Lynette? The OBEX client and the OBEX server, both of them, the backend APIs is going to be a Bluesy service and working over dbus, and that's all going to be in OpenOBEX. What we're going to have in Bluesy GNOME, we're going to have integration for an OBEX push server, an OBEX FTP server. The OBEX push means that you can just send a file one shot, like you use on mobile phones. OBEX FTP means, it's better than FTP, by the way, in terms of protocol. That you can browse just like I've done from my phone. So if you've got another computer, you would be able to share files using Bluetooth instead of using the wireless, for example. Which is pretty useful if you don't have any kind of network connectivity, or if you have some pain with setting up computer-to-computer ad hoc networks. So we're gonna have the server, the OBEX FTP server, and the both types, and the OBEX client, all of them integrated into Bluesy GNOME in terms of UI. Hubert?
What would be the idea?
What?
What's the best thing to use?
What do you mean? That you would want to be able to you would be able to connect your phone in some way and have all the pictures actually being ready to import in any application that uses gPhoto. I must say I've got a pipe dream, like a feature that would be like, it would be super nice and we would be the only ones to do it. And I've got the exact same problem with a Rhythmbox. What I want to be able to do is like on the Sony Ericsson Walkman mobile phones, where you can dump a whole load of MP3s and AAC files. I'd like to be able to have the mobile phone show up in Rhythmbox so that I could sync it, and I could just drop some files on there. Maybe even like prepare your playlist offline, and just press a button that says connect. You would sync all the songs to and from the phone, and it would just work. Basically, I think that it would be much easier for you instead of writing your own code and using OBEX FTP to actually go and browse the images on the mobile phone. I think that you're better off writing a GNOME VFS backend and special casing OBEX FTP. So you would be able to import from any GNOME VFS location. Obviously, it doesn't make much sense for things like network shares, etc. But it makes an awful lot of sense when the GNOME VFS backend works with specific devices. So basically, you would use GNOME VFS. You would say, well, if at the root of that device, I've got an images directory, then I'm going to import all the photos from that directory. I think that would be the easiest way to solve the problem. As for the UI, it's a much harder problem. It's something that the application would have to do. And that's why we're writing widgets to make it easier for people to integrate Bluetooth in their applications. It's a very hard special case as well. Any more questions, Joe? Again? I'm gonna come down to the other. Sorry, he seems to want to talk today, so. Yeah.
You mentioned the first stab at HAL integration was a bit of a failure.
Yeah.
Have you thought about taking another stab at it in a slightly different way?
No, there's one thing that was. I explained the few reasons why it just wouldn't work. The one thing.
The, I was thinking was, instead of just showing all devices in there, just show the ones that you paired with, and then having maybe a HAL backend or an add-on, I don't remember the terminology, which actually does the persistence of the names and the protocol that it supports, and maybe pokes at it in the background later.
Persistent device storage is a no-no for HAL.
In all cases, I mean, no storage of any information whatsoever.
I think that's pretty much the idea behind HAL. I mean, I don't think he is, which is a shame. He would be able to explain to you why he doesn't think it's a good idea. But as I said, there was that problem, and there was also the problem of the fine-grained API. And you're basically just duplicating API that you had in the ACID in daemon.
I'm not really saying that you would do your access of the device itself through HAL, because in a lot of cases that's not the point of HAL. I was just sort of thinking it's almost like a device node, and then you would see that the device is there, so you know to talk directly to the device, just to pull the device itself.
Well, there are some things that work a bit like that. And there is some work being done to better integrate Bluetooth devices in HAL, but in a completely different way. For example, when you pair your laptop and your mouse is going to show up as a device that's going to be attached to your Bluetooth adapter. It's going to show up as an input device. If it didn't have a device node before, if you're using protocols like OBEX, you're not going to see anything because you don't actually need to know that it's a mobile phone and fill in the product and vendor and everything like that. There's far too much information that's not easily accessible that you would need to put in HAL. But if something needs a device node, it's the same thing with audio, for example. Audio is going to show up under that Bluetooth, that main Bluetooth adapter. So applications, even if they don't write any very special code, the applications are going to be able to say, hey, I know that device in HAL, that audio device in HAL appears just under a Bluetooth device. So I know that it could be disconnected at any point. I will treat it specially. You don't actually use the Bluetooth APIs, not at all, because it's all done in the back. It's not something that you need to care about. But you can still special case it. That's a tiny bit of HAL integration for Bluetooth devices that's available. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, well, if you've got any more questions, I can answer them in the hall. I'm probably going to be around or sitting at a desk pretty much all the rest of the day. I'm going to be blogging about the Fedora 8 Bluetooth tasks, so that you can take a quick peek at it. If you've got any questions or any good ideas or any more use cases, which I would really appreciate, just let me know, and that'll get added to my to-do list. Thank you very much.